Greetings, my fellow mortals. I have another album review for everybody, and it is this one right here, the new Litosth album titled Cesariana. Litosth is a melodic black/death metal band from Brazil that has been around since 2016. They would release their first single titled Universe of Me the same year that they were formed. 3 years later, they would release their debut album titled Cross Parallels of Self-Refraction, which is one of my favorite albums. It also happens to have Universe of Me as like the single off of it and like the bonus final track off of the digital versions of the album. 2022, they would release their second album titled Farther from the Sun. Originally, this album was supposed to come out in early 2021, but for some very, very unknown reason, the band had to push the album back to 2022, and that's when it came out. Which then leads to the new album right here, Cesariana. I listened to this album 2 times, and let me tell you, this album is really, really, really fucking good. Musically, it sounds so much better than their last album, Farther from the Sun, which was also a good album. All 3 of their albums are really good, but this one I would say is like better than the last one. But like I said, Cross Parallels is my favorite, but this one is my second favorite right here. This album is way more melodic than the first 2 albums. It's also a lot heavier than the first 2 albums. I really love how the first track, In Waves, sounds very similar to the song The Ashes of Our Discontent, which is the 3rd track off of the first album, Cross Parallels of Self-Refraction. Like, the riffs are very, very similar. Like, when I hear that opening track off of Cesariana, I immediately think of The Ashes of Our Discontent. And it's so good. It's not a bad thing at all. Like, you know, it's really good. And much like the first 2 albums, this album has a really good mix between melodic black metal and melodic death metal. Some songs sound a bit more like melodic black metal. Some songs sound a bit more melodic death metal, which I think that is something that all bands who like try to mix those 2 styles of metal together should be doing, instead of trying to make it sound more death metal all throughout one album. Like, mix it up, like do a little bit of shrieking vocals and then do some grunting vocals and all that. That to me is like, you know, black death or blackened death metal and all that, especially melodic black death. Like, I really love that. I would say my favorite tracks are In Waves, Whipping Bottles, The Clay Messiah, and The Vacuum Extractor Paradigm. My least favorite track is the song A Offensa. It's not a bad track at all. Like, honestly, all the tracks on the album are really, really good in their own way. That's just not like a track I would like go back to and all that. But if I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, I love this song right here. And a couple tracks that I would highlight are Time Doesn't Heal and The Argonaut. Overall, I would rate this album like a really good 9.8 out of 10. Like, that is how good this album is. Like, Cross Parallels of Self-Refraction, 10 out of 10. Farther from the Sun, 9.5. Cesariana, 9.8. Like, that's how good this album is. But hey, that's just what I think. Feel free to check this album out. It is out now on digital and CD format through the label Personal Records. And I will see y'all in the next album review. Till then, my fellow mortals.